everyone, I'm back today with my first wrap-up of 2016. I read quite some amazing books in January. I read about 8 or 9 books, and as I said, some of them were amazing, so I'm pretty excited to talk about them. First book I read this year is The Readers of Broken Wheel, recommended by Katarina Bevold, which is basically about a woman named Sarah who goes from Sweden to America in order to visit a friend of hers who is an elderly lady. However, when she comes to America, she finds out that this elderly lady has died. She has just died, and Sarah wasn't informed, and she was actually planning on spending 2 months in America. So this story is about her experiences in America, what she decides to do, but it's also about her love for books, because that's what initially, I can't say that word. That is what, to begin with, made her go to America, because the friend who just died loved books as much as Sarah does. I like this book a lot. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It brought a smile to my face so many times. I mean, it's a very simple story and it's quite predictable, but it's done so well. It is nice, it is comfortable to read, and it's just a good story. However, the next book I read is not that nice and comfortable to read, and that is Pet Sematary by Stephen King, which actually took me 3 years to read. Don't ask me why, but it did. But I finally finished it. I enjoyed it. It didn't scare me as much as I was hoping for. I had heard some quite scaring stories about owning a pet as I do and then reading this book, that it wasn't a good combination. But I read it and I enjoyed it. It was creepy, but I wasn't blown away, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. It is basically about this family who moves to a new house, and nearby there is this pet cemetery where you are supposed to bury your dead pets, and spooky things happen over there. Then I read one of my Christmas presents, and that is Wildflower by Drew Barrymore. I was in the mood for a non-fiction book, and I wanted to read this because I quite like Drew Barrymore, and I was hoping to get a rare insight into her life and her thoughts, since she has written this book herself. Once again, this is a good book. I wasn't blown away. I felt like it didn't go into depth with Drew's thoughts on life and her feelings, so I didn't feel like it gave me 100% what I was expecting. But it was a good book because it gave me an insight into her life, her growing up with being a celebrity, and it was a good enough book. So in the end I gave it 3 stars out of 5. Afterwards I read Hard Times by Charles Dickens, another book that was good enough but not amazing. Those amazing books I was talking about will be up right after this one. Anyway, this book I once again gave 3 out of 5 stars. It was an interesting and educating read, but it wasn't as fascinating as I was hoping. I have quite an ambivalent relationship to Charles Dickens. I either love his books or I despise them, but this one I enjoyed, so it was in the middle. I do remember that one thing about this book that disappointed me is the fact that it starts out with this story about a girl who is very poor and who is being taken into a family who will help her get educated and basically raise her. And I was hoping that would be the story because I like that. But then the story takes a turn and it becomes about something completely else. It's not that I minded that twist and turn, but I just would have preferred to read about the original story. So yeah, but all in all, a good enough read, and as I said, I gave it 3 stars. Now on to one of those books that I mentioned that blew me away, and that is another book by Stephen King. This is November 22nd, 1963, which is being turned into a TV show this year, and I didn't know that when I picked it up, but I'm so happy that my timing was as amazing as it was, because now I have read it, I have loved it, and I can't wait to watch the TV show. This is about a man, Jake, who lives in 2011 here in America. I live in Denmark, but he lives in America. A friend of his tells him of a time-traveling device that allows for him to go back in time to the year of 1958 in America. So basically this book deals with how you can play with the past and change the future, more specifically the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And I'm not going to say anything else because you have to read it for yourselves, but definitely worth a read. I love this book. This is not horror as you are used to when reading Stephen King. This is more of a psychological thriller, and that definitely attracted me a lot. I was so pleased, and I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. I then decided to pick up another psychological thriller, but this one didn't blow me away as much, and that is You by Caroline Kepnes. This is a book told from the perspective of a stalker. You are inside his head because he is telling the story from a second-person narrative. And it was creepy. It was everything I was expecting, but still I wasn't fascinated with it. I was actually not eager at any point to get back to the book. I just wanted for it to be over with. So I do think that I initially gave it 3 stars, but to be honest, it's more like a 2.5 star rating for me because it was very weird. I got what I was expecting, a creepy story where you are inside the head of a stalker and everything becomes very scary and very creepy, but I just didn't like the reading experience, unfortunately. Maybe it creeped me out a little bit too much, but yeah, 2.5 stars. 3 stars for me. But the next book is another one of those books that blew me away. It is such a beautiful story and you have to read it. This is A Spool of Blue Thread by Anne Tyler. A book that I talked about in my books I want to read in 2016 video. Actually, 3 of the books I'm going to talk about today are books from that video, which I'm very pleased about because I'm doing very well with reading my books that I want to read this year. Anyway, this book was so amazing. It's very simple. It's about this family who lives in America, and we gradually get to know all of the family members and their past and their present. I loved it so much. There's something about Anne Tyler's writing that captivated me a lot. I had to highlight several passages. I had a smile on my face while reading, and when I finished the last page, I had tears in my eyes. It moved me, and I was so pleasantly surprised. And actually, I now want to go out and read more by Anne Tyler, so I just have to figure out where to start, but this one I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Then I finished the Live Ship Traders trilogy by Robin Hobb. This is the last book, Ship of Destiny. I, all in all, really enjoyed this series. I gave the first book 4 stars, the second book 2.5 stars, but I think I read that one at the wrong time, so because I did like it, and then this one 4 stars. So all in all, I really enjoyed the series. It's a great place to start if you want to read a fantasy series where you can really dive into the world and get to know the characters, because all 3 books consist of about 900 pages, so there's definitely space for that. But it's also very easy to follow and understand, and it has this depth of characters that I appreciate in books, so that we get to know everyone and we get to read from different perspectives. I just love those kinds of stories, so I was very pleased and I definitely recommend this series. Last but not least, I managed to finish His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. I was halfway through the last book, The Amber Spyglass, and I finished that one this month. This is a great story. It's targeted for children, but you can definitely read it as an adult as well, because this story comes with so many layers. You just know when reading it the first time around that you're missing out on so many things, but at the same time you are enjoying yourself while reading. I loved it. It gave me the wintry feeling I was looking for, and all in all I gave this trilogy 4 out of 5 stars. And that is it for my January wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day, everyone. Happy reading. Bye bye.